Come and sing. It doesn't matter. Your days are long. It doesn't matter.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'm excited to get started with our Student Senate meeting this evening. So with that, I'm going to call this meeting of Student Senate to order. Online, we forgo the Pledge of Allegiance, but I do want to remind people of just some of the rules that we have for any new guests and visitors. We actually I think, are having interns tonight for the first time, which is really exciting. So I just want to cover a few of these things really quickly. First of all, please make sure to keep your video and audio muted unless you're currently speaking. That's to just help resolve bandwidth issues to ensure that that everybody has a chance to speak and talk and we're not weighing down anyone's computer too much. Please make sure to keep the chat limited to business-only items there. Please also know that when making motions, there's some motions that I'll say aloud, so all I need someone to put in the chat is "so moved" in a second immediately after that. You're also welcome to change your name on Zoom right now to whatever your title is in SGA, whether it is senator, director, etc. Feel free to put guest if you want to let people know that you're a guest and visiting with us tonight. For some votes that we do, we'll be doing it through either roll call, which Speaker Pro Tempore Billman will lead, or the raise hand feature. If you don't remember how to use that feature, that's just going into the participants window, and next to your name, there should be an option to hit raise hand. One thing that I do ask during our meeting is that please don't DM me right now. I'm receiving a lot of messages in a lot of ways, so I probably won't get it. Please, if you have questions, ask another senator, committee chair, etc. I just want to make sure that I'm attentive and paying attention to everything going on at every point. So I would really appreciate that. Thank you. Finally, like always, please be patient. Again, online isn't the way we're used to doing things, but you all have been doing excellent so far this term. So I'm excited to continue on with that. One thing that I don't have on the screen that I do want to add is that we will be enforcing time limits for speakers and questions a bit stronger than we were last week. Last week, I had some concerns about jumping in and being too intrusive. So the format that we're going to be using this week is that Parliamentarian Arnold, when timing things, is going to indicate in the chat when a speaker's time is up. If they don't see it or continue to stop a little bit after that, I'll jump in and let the speaker know that time has expired. But I hope that way will be a bit less intrusive instead of somebody unmuting themselves and immediately shouting time or something like that in the middle of it. So with that, we will go ahead and get started with our agenda for this evening. So I'm going to turn it over to Speaker Pro Tempore Billman so she can do the roll call.
Hi, everyone. So excited to see you all. Welcome to all of our interns that may be joining us. Start out with the roll. Atchison.
Here.
Booz.
Here.
Brown Alex. Brown Madison.
Here.
Bruce.
Here.
Brummett.
Here by proxy.
Right, Bruno. Burke.
Here.
Carlson.
Here.
Carr.
Here.
Clements.
Here.
Colburn.
Here.
Cox. Crosslow.
Here.
De Santiago. Diaz de Leon.
Here.
Delaveau.
Here.
Delaveau. Sorry.
Yeah,
Is it Delaveau or Delaveau?
Vu.
Vu. Thank you. All right. Fox.
Here.
Frederick.
Here.
Gallardo.
Here.
And then is it Gallardo or the yeah sound?
Either is fine. Gallardo's fine.
Thank you. Garrett.
Here.
Glasscock.
Here.
Grills.
Here.
Grolmus,
Here.
Hamlin, Harmon,
Here. Here.
Hurd,
Here.
Hernandez, Hutchings,
Here.
Jambunathan,
Here.
Johnson, Kidd,
Here.
Levi,
Here.
Manners,
Here.
McKee, McVeigh, Muthukumar, No,
Here.
Norwood,
Here.
Nunink,
Here.
Phillips,
Here.
Panicatu,
Here.
Porter,
Here.
Richenberg, Rodriguez,
Here.
Rossi, Schmidt, Shunjay, Snyder Ben,
Here.
Snyder Blaine,
Here.
Vaunts,
Here.
Wagner, Wallace, Ward, Watkins, Wilcox,
Here.
Willis,
Here.
and Weinholz. Okay. Speaker Bothwell, was there anyone in the chat?
There was not, but Olivia Hamlin is just joining the meeting. She just came to the waiting room.
Okay, thank you. And then also Senator McVeigh is also here. He let me know in the chat. Okay. With that, there are 39 senators present.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Maggie, for getting that done for us. With that, we'll now move into our first open period for the evening. Tonight's first open period speaker is Dr. Thomas Lane. He's the Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students. So if you all want to use your little clapping reaction GIFs and welcome him to Student Senate, and I'm going to get his presentation pulled up.
Thank you, Speaker Bothwell. It's great being with the Senate tonight in our third week of a fall semester that has been unlike any other in my experience. So I want to begin my time with you tonight by saying thank you. For those of you who I've seen wearing masks on campus and keeping 6-foot social distance, thank you. For those of you who are doing their part in avoiding parties where wearing masks and social distancing isn't occurring, thank you. I know staying vigilant in doing what it takes to reduce the spread of COVID is difficult and it can be exhausting. Believe me, I get it. I understand wanting to see and spend time with friends, especially after having to leave campus early last spring. And I know that there's probably some of you attending tonight's meeting from quarantine or isolation. And I know that that can take a toll on one's mental well-being. So please know how grateful I am for you adhering to instructions to stop spread. Thanks also to those of you when testing positive or providing names, those of you who've been in close contact with so that they can be reached to help stop spread. And also thank you to those who are living in residence halls who received an invite to test voluntarily. your doing so helps ensure that we better understand the virus on campus. But despite seeing so many great examples of students behaving in ways that help stop COVID-19, we've also seen a sharp increase in cases over these last 2 weeks that concerns me. I think we're doing a great job with disease mitigation efforts while on campus, and probably a not so great job while off campus. And so I think a way to flatten the increase in cases is by doing those things that we know work: wearing a mask, keeping social distance, washing our hands frequently, and avoiding parties or places where mask wearing and social distancing is not being practiced. Please know that that doesn't mean that you shouldn't socialize or have fun. It just means, I think, that you need to be thoughtful about how you do so. It means spending time with friends outside rather than in a crowded apartment or a house or a bar. Keeping a smaller group of friends that you socialize with. Being close together around a lot of people for a long period of time unmasked, I think will contribute to disease spread. And though many students between 18 and 25 are experiencing mild symptoms, please be aware that there are students around you who are diabetic, who have hypertension, who are immunocompromised in some way. And for those people, it may not be a mild case, and in fact could result in serious complications or even death. So I know as a community, we have what it takes to reduce the amount of COVID cases that we're seeing. We need to wear a mask, keep social distance, avoid large parties, don't host large parties. Those 4 things alone, I think, will bring our case count down and help ensure that we don't have to go completely online. So I'd ask for your help as student leaders to help get this message out and to model this behavior. And so I appreciate you letting me share those initial thoughts. I'd also like to share with you, if I could, our Division of Student Life strategic plan. I think Nathan has that on the screen. Thank you. Nathan, can I have you go to the next slide? So as Nathan mentioned, I'm the Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students. And I wanted to talk with you a little bit about the division strategic plan so that you're familiar with it and know what it is that we are supposed to be doing as a division of student life. So we have a new mission for student life, and that's we're dedicated to students, and we commit to their collective and individual pursuit of educational excellence, personal well-being, and lifelong learning. And then we do that in several ways through 16 units or departments. And those departments are clustered together in 3 different clusters. Our first one is community building. And so you're familiar with the Center for Student Involvement. We also are familiar with the K-State Student Union, our Housing and Dining Services, our DMSA and LGBT Resource Center. Those are all centered around how do we build community on K-State's campus. Then our other cluster of departments are personal and career well-being. So our counseling services, recreational services, Lafine Health Center, Career Center, PowerCat Financial. All of those focused on a student's holistic well-being, both personal, physical, financial, community, purpose well-being. And then we also have a group of offices and departments in student life that are our support resources. So our Office of Student Life is a great one, located in Holton Hall. Our care office, Student Access Center, Student Legal Assistance, Center for Child Development, and our Cats Covered Food Pantry are just several of the support resources that we have. If you would move to the next slide, Nathan. So where it is that we want to go as a division is we believe that everyone should have equitable access to a college education where you grow intellectually, socially, economically, and civically, and we prepare students to contribute to their communities and improve the world. So hopefully if we're achieving our mission, we move us closer to that vision. And if you could move to the next slide, Nathan. So we also spent a lot of time as we were building the strategic plan through our division was what kind of values do we want to hold dear? And so we came up with 3 core values that hopefully as you interact with staff members within the division and as you interact with myself, these are the 3 values that you'll see come forth in your interactions with us. The first one is care, and by that we mean our students come first. The second is community, and that we stand on the foundation of our K-State community. And then third is collaboration, and that we thrive in and contribute to larger initiatives and communities. So hopefully your interactions with our division, you'll see those 3 values brought to life. And if you don't, I want to know about it. You could move to the next slide. So we have 5 strategic goal areas that the division is going to be moving forward in this next academic year and beyond. And that first one is we want to do better at listening and engaging with our students. So that could include improving how we assess the work that we do in our division. It's engaging student groups in dialogues about their needs and desires. And then also, how do we take a review of our division's departments and see what are we doing well and what are we doing not so well, and then be able to bridge that gap. We want to empower students to engage in problem solving, and so we'll provide opportunities for students to learn and grow and practice problem solving techniques. We also would like to develop an online resource for students to utilize when problem solving, and then just aid students with timely, direct, and effective communication when they're experiencing challenges. Our third strategic goal is advocating for equity. And by that, we mean fostering a campus community where you see compassion, equity, empathy. We want to analyze and act on the recommendations that come forth in the campus climate study. And then we're doing a lot of work within the Division of Student Life in evaluating our existing policies and procedures. And we're trying to do that through an equity-based lens. And so trying to look at our policies and procedures and see who are they helping, who are they harming, and try to bridge that gap. Our fourth strategic goal area is championing holistic well-being. And by that, what we're looking to do is to assist students who might be in crisis or in trouble or in pain. And then we also are working hard to analyze the recommendations that will come forth from our JED Foundation collaboration. We have the JED Foundation that's coming to visit campus at the end of September. And so we're looking forward to that campus visit and building our strategic plan towards mental health and mental well-being. And then engage students in how they craft a definition of success. And then finally, our fifth strategic goal is fostering a welcoming community. And so by that, how do we support social connections on campus and across Kansas, in the nation? How do we demonstrate that we're welcoming and an innovative colleagues? And how do we leverage opportunities for students to grow as student leaders? And so for those 5 areas will be the 5 areas that you'll see the Division of Student Life working on over these next academic year and beyond. The work of this document can be found on our Vice President for Student Life website. Also, I want to thank our students who were involved in the creation of this plan. We had about 30 people that worked over the spring semester to put this plan together, and so I'm really excited about how it's now come to fruition, and I look forward to reporting to the Senate on how we've made progress on this. And if you could move one more slide. I also wanted to bring to the Senate's attention, in case you weren't aware, there was a recent K-State article, but we have an action plan for a more inclusive K-State. And in that action plan, I would encourage you to go online and take a look at it. There's 6 student-related action steps. There's 3 faculty staff-related action steps. And they range from a number of different topics. So for example, in our student-centered action steps, we have the goal of creating a student ombuds office to assist students who might be experiencing any kind of campus climate concern. We're looking at policies and process reviews. So I know that the judicial branch is engaged in the student code of conduct review. We're also taking a look at a social media usage policy, and then taking a look at all of our policies and procedures through an anti-racist lens. We have a group that's working on student recruitment, student retention and graduation, especially of underrepresented students. We have a group that's looking at need-based scholarships, and a group that is focused within the Division of Student Life, working on a program called Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation, and using a framework to evaluate the programs and services we provide. I see I've ran out of time, so I'll encourage you to, again, look at both the Division of Student Life Strategic Plan and also the Action Plan for a More Inclusive K-State. Thank you for your time tonight.
With that, are there any questions that anyone has for Dr. Lane? If you have a question, please just indicate so in the chat, and I'll call on them in the order that they come in. Since I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, Dr. Lane, thank you so much for coming in this evening and presenting and sharing with us. We really appreciate you taking the time to come visit Student Senate and update us on everything the Office of Student Life is doing.
It's great to be here. And if there's any questions that you have that you weren't able to ask tonight, please don't hesitate to reach out.
With that, I'll now be moving onto the next part of our agenda for this evening. So the next thing that we have is the approval of the minutes. The minutes were sent out late last week after last week's Student Senate meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? That was first moved in the chat by Caucus Leader Atchison and was seconded by Senator Hurd. Are there any objections to approving last week's minutes, excuse me? Seeing none, the minutes from last week will stand approved. Next on our agenda for this evening is announcements. So scrolling down to the announcements page of the agenda, the first one that we have this week is that SGA is currently searching for candidates for the position of Elections Commissioner. Applications are due by Friday, September 11th at 11:59 p.m. and interviews will be held for that position the following day. If you are interested or know someone who would want to serve as this year's commissioner, please ask them to apply at the following link. Like I said, this is a great opportunity for someone who wants to step up in leadership skills. We're looking for an elections commissioner who might have to navigate a pretty difficult election season this year if we're still a lot online. So I'd really encourage anyone who's interested in leadership to really apply. If you maybe don't know a whole lot about elections, don't second guess yourself. There's a lot of people who will help you through this process. So I would encourage any interested parties to apply. The one other comment that I want to make on Elections Commissioner is that it is one of the few positions in SGA that people can hold simultaneously with another position. So someone can be Elections Commissioner and a senator at the same time, which was the case last year. If you are Elections Commissioner, though, you are not allowed to run for any office. Moving on, like I said earlier, our second announcement is that the SGA intern program began earlier tonight. The intern program will be through in-person meetings in Wildcat Chamber, but there's two different sections of the program that are offered to ensure social distancing. So I've included the document to sign up for interns if they're interested in going ahead of time. And if you know anyone who you think would be a good fit for the intern program, please nominate them at the following link through our Org Central page. Hannah just joined the meeting, so if there's any interns on right now, welcome to the meeting. We hope that you're having a good time. The third announcement for this week is that the at-large application for SGA and university committees is currently live. Applications are due by next Thursday, September 10th at 5 p.m. This is a great opportunity for any students who want to get involved representing student voice to administration, university across campus, or if anyone just wants to get the chance to be involved in SGA. Please, please, please encourage them to apply. Be posting that on your social medias and stuff. Communications Director Lux has done an excellent job advertising that. One thing that I do want to bring up is that if you are a student senator who is interested in serving in additional positions, so for example, if you're a senator and you would like to serve on the Tuition and Fees Strategies Committee, if you would like to be on the Diversity Programming Committee, some of those extra opportunities that we have throughout the year, I'd ask that you please fill out that form as well, just so we have some form of documentation for you asking to do that. Even if you aren't sure what all the opportunities are, there's a description of all of those committees on the form, so I'd encourage anyone to go take a look at it and kind of dive in and see what opportunities are out there because we need great student representatives across the board. Announcement number 4 for the evening is that Wildcat Dialogues, which is an intercultural leadership experience for first-year K-State students, is now looking for facilitators to facilitate those conversations. If you are interested in guiding new students on campus through discussion about campus culture, please sign up at the link that I've included there on the agenda. That'll be due by Friday, September 11th. Proxies for this evening, please remember that if you are ever going to be gone from Student Senate for any reason, please just fill out a proxy form to designate someone else as your proxy. Proxies for this week include Carlson for Ward, Carr for Watkins, Diaz de Leon for Brummett, and then I got 2 in today. So Grolmes for McKee and then Grills for Richenberg. So we have 5 proxies this evening. Number 6, the SGA Member of the Week is Senator Levi for getting a jump start on planning a mock presidential debate for late October to inform students about the different policy positions of the candidates running for President of the United States. Senator Levi, we really appreciate your initiative on planning such an informative event for students. You can see our upcoming events down below. And then our quote of the week is, "In times of crisis, the wise build bridges while the foolish build barriers." That's from Chadwick Boseman in his portrayal as T'Challa in the movie Black Panther. With that, we will now continue on with our agenda. We have no commendations or appointments this evening, so we will move into committee reports. If there are any committee chairs that would like to give a report, please just indicate so. Chair Rodriguez, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. So the bill about the land acknowledgement was referred back to DI, and we decided to add the written acknowledgement. We amended it, so we started writing the land acknowledgement, and one meeting was not enough. We needed more feedback from different parties and people around campus, so we're holding it in committee one more week. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Are there any questions for Chair Rodriguez? Seeing none, thank you, Natalia. Next up, Chair Booz, you have the floor for Senate Operations.
Yeah, hello everyone. You'll be seeing me or another member of Senate Operations up here quite a bit to update you on Senate Operations and what we're doing in regards to elections reform. So at our last meeting on Monday, we kind of categorized the suggestions from the Elections Commissioner's report from last year, as well as one other suggestion that we had into like what priority we thought that they were, and then also started to work on some of those over this week. And so we're working on currently instant runoff voting with me, working on making registration possibly easier, and maybe changing the mandatory meeting so that it doesn't have to be synchronous. Basically, you could watch a video and take a quiz or something like that. And then also making the election date 4 hours longer, adding time on Tuesday so it doesn't start at noon, instead it starts at 8 a.m. So if you got any comments on those, please let any member of the committee know, or come virtually via Zoom. So email me or a member of the committee for the Zoom link for Mondays at 8 p.m. So I'd be happy to take any questions now as well.
Are there any questions for Chair Booz? Seeing none, thank you, Andrew. Next up, Chair Brown, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Madison, and I am the Privilege Fee Committee Chair. So I have some changes that I want to inform you guys about how Privilege Fee is going to operate this year. So as you know, we have had a lot of classes move online, and there has been a decrease in enrollment. And due to this, we are expecting that we will have insufficient for fiscal year 21, which is the current year that we are in for our fiscal year. So we will be reenacting the insufficient funds clause that is in all of our privilege fee contracts. If you were here in the spring, we went through this process as well, except this year we will be actually reenacting money that has already been allocated. So it will be somewhat resembling university callbacks. This is due to one, decrease in enrollment, as well as students only pay the privilege fee for the amount of in-person credit hours that they're on, which means that some students who might be in less than 6 in-person credit hours are not going to be paying the full privilege fee. So those are just two of the factors that are leading into this deficit that we are going to be having. So the privilege fee has pushed back their typical reviews to start in October. And during the month of September, we'll be focusing on receiving impact statements from entity directors, reviewing those impact statements, and readjusting these year's budgets. So this is something that you will probably be hearing about a lot from me, hoping to go into a presentation next week that goes on it more in depth. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, come to Privilege Fee Committee meetings on Mondays, and I'd be happy to answer any of those.
Are there any questions for Chair Brown about her report? Seeing none, thank you so much for presenting, Madison. With that, Chair Colburn, you have the floor next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lily Colburn. I am the chair of the Governmental Relations Committee this year. I just wanted to update you all on our general plan for GR this year. So we're spending about half of our time as we look at our whole year, and also as we spend our time in committee each week working on elections efforts. This looks like get out the vote efforts, voter registration, and voter education efforts. And in addition to that, the other half of our time is going to be spent on different project areas. Some of these project areas look very similar to GR in past years, and some of them are a little bit different. So the topic areas that we're going to focus on at the beginning of the year is we're going to have a special small group that works on planning public forums with candidates for different elected offices. We're going to have a small group focus on sexual assault, violence prevention and awareness, and we're going to have a group focus on racial justice issues, and finally we're going to have a group that focuses on housing. So some of these are similar to years past, some of these are new. If any of you are particularly interested in getting involved in these groups, we'd love to have you involved. You don't have to come to every single GR meeting. You can just connect with these small groups. In addition to that, I'd also like to plug, as part of our elections efforts every year, we always work with different organizations. This year, quite a few different organizations that now exist to help with National Voter Registration Day and voter registration. So I'll just put that day on your calendar. It's going to be September 22nd. It's a Tuesday. So just beware, we're probably going to ask you to do some sort of probably not tabling, but some sort of virtual engagement, social media, all of that kind of thing. So if you ever have any questions or comments about what you think GR should be doing or what we are doing, I'd love to hear them. So at this time, I stand for questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Chair Colburn? Seeing no questions, thank you so much for presenting, Lily. Next up, we have Chair Pelton.
Hey, everybody. First of all, welcome interns. My name is Sarah Pelton. I'm chair of the On-Campus Allocations Committee. Just wanted to say we've gotten our first couple of requests in for online events, so we're going to be reviewing those as a committee over the next couple weeks, and hopefully we'll get a bill out to Senate pretty soon. But I would also like to encourage interns, if you guys are interested in the allocations process at all, or you just want to get to know more about like the funding process, I would highly encourage you to come over to our meetings. If you want to come, I can send you the Zoom link, but yeah, that's all I have.
Are there any questions for Chair Pelton about on-campus allocations? Seeing none, thank you so much, Sarah. With that, it looks like we have no more committee reports. So we will move on to directors' reports. So are there any directors or other positions in SGA that would like to give a report at this time? Communications Director Lux, you have the floor.
Hi everyone, my name is Marissa and I am our communications director. I just wanted to tell everyone to go follow all of our social media accounts. We've really increased on our following recently. So our Instagram is SGA K-State and our Twitter is that but flipped, so it's K-State SGA. So give those a follow. If you post anything, I will shout you out and repost it, so follow for follow. But if you have any pictures of you at SGA meetings, committee meetings, just text me the pictures. I'll put my email in the chat. Yeah, and I'm also always open for ideas with social media. So if you have an idea, just let me know and we can work on it together. And then lastly, right now I'm working on all student government headshots. So that's in the works right now. So just stay tuned for that in the future. And that is all I have.
Are there any questions for Communications Director Lux? Seeing none, thank you, Marissa. Next up, Intern Coordinator Heatherman, you have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So I was just gonna say that we're here with the interns right now, or about a little over a third of them that came tonight. So we're just like watching Senate tonight. So you guys are doing a great job of like acknowledging them, being welcoming, and that type of thing. But I also just like wanted to remind everybody as well that it's not too late for more interns. So the forms out there circulating, continue to share the graphic that's on social media, and continue to fill up Wildcat Chamber and Zoom. So thanks.
Thanks, Hannah. We hope you're having fun in Wildcat Chamber. Are there any questions for intern coordinator Heather Min?
I have a question.
Sorry, who was that?
Sorry, Senator Grills. I should have said it in the chat.
You're fine. You Ashley.
Yeah, where can we find that infographic? Because I'd love to like spread that out. And is the spreadsheet sign up link also on the infographic?
It's not. Our concern there was the accessibility of edible links on social media for security reasons. So if you have somebody in mind, you can send them the intern nomination form that's on Org Central, or you can send me a text and I'll send you the link. I'm okay with it circulating student to student. I just don't want a non-student to have it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And just for clarification, that form that Hannah was referring to is located right here on the agenda. So if you know someone who's interested, please nominate them, and the intern coordinators will reach out. Things are just a little bit more difficult right now with COVID. We don't want, we want people signing up for meetings to make sure we don't have to like turn anyone away at the door. Are there any further questions for intern coordinator Heather Min? Caucus Leader Phillips, you have the floor.
Hey, Hannah. Just curious. So like in the event that Wildcat Chambers is too crowded, is the intern program like hybrid, kind of like classes are?
It is. It is. Hello. It is hybrid. Thanks for that question. So we have a reoccurring Zoom link, so I'll be able to get that sent out to everybody in case they're wanting to join or to send that to somebody that they have in mind. Right now, since there's 2 sessions happening, capacity hasn't been an issue, but we have been offering the Zoom still due to a number of people that have been attending virtually due to quarantining.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for sharing, Hannah. We really appreciate getting to see Wildcat Chambers since we can't be there right now. With that, I believe the next report was Student Body Vice President Lundeen. You have the floor.
Hi, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. I'll make this pretty short. It's just concerning Educational Opportunity Fund. So all of the audits were sent in by previous entities. So all who submitted proposals last year are eligible to submit them again this year. And the estimated budget for this year's account is $317,164.
Are there any questions for Vice President Lundeen? Seeing none, thank you, Lane. With that, I think I've caught up on all the directors who had reports to give. Are there any other directors who would like to give a report at this time? Seeing none, we'll continue on with the agenda. So as of now, because we've exhausted all directors' reports, we don't have anything scheduled for College Caucus time this evening. So we will just continue to, sorry about that, I was getting some feedback. We'll continue on with the rest of the agenda. So with that, we'll move into final action for the bills and resolutions that we have on the agenda. I'd just like to give a quick reminder to everyone that you can view what committees voted on for the pieces of legislation when they were in committee this past week, right here on the agenda when it's in final action. So for example, with Bill 7 coming up, you can see that the On-Campus Allocations Committee favorably voted it back in 5-0 to 0. So with that, the author of Bill 7 needs to come forward, and that is actually me. So there haven't been any changes made in terms of debate. I would just say that please vote for this because it improves our audit compliance. We're making these changes just because the Office of Internal Audit recommended them. So I hope that you vote yes on this so that we can be in future compliance for audits. Are there any questions about that debate that I had right there? Seeing none, we will now proceed into a roll call vote on Bill 7. So Speaker Pro Tempore Billman is going to work through the agenda, calling names and asking for your vote. Just a reminder that you always have 4 options when you're voting on a piece of legislation. You can vote yes, you can vote no, you can abstain, and then you can also pass if you would like to. So that way it'll work through the roll once and come back around to you if you aren't certain how you'd like to vote. Also remember that if you're someone's proxy this evening, please just make sure to say by proxy when you vote, just so we can get that clarified. And then also feel free to type your vote in the chat if you don't want to unmute yourself and say it out loud. I'll announce it for Speaker Pro Tem Billman. So with that, Maggie, if you're ready, you can begin the roll call vote.
Awesome, thank you. Just a reminder, if I mispronounce your name, correct me. All right. Atchison.
Yay.
Booz.
Yes.
Brown Alex. Brown Madison.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
Brummett.
Yes, by proxy.
Bruna.
Yes.
Burke. Carlson.
Yes.
Carr.
Yes.
Clements.
Yes.
Colburn.
Yes.
Cox. Croslow.
Yes.
De Santiago. Diaz de Leon.
Yes.
Delavu.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Frederick.
Yes.
Gallardo.
Yes.
Garrett.
Yes.
Glasscock.
Yes.
Grills.
Yes.
Grolmus.
Yes.
Hamlin.
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.
Hurd.
Yes.
Hernandez. Hutchings.
Yes.
Jambunathan.
Yes.
Johnson. Kidd.
Yes.
Levi.
Yes.
Manners.
Yes.
McKee.
Yes, by proxy.
McVeigh.
Yes.
Muthukumar.
Yes.
Knoll.
Yes.
Norwood.
Abstain.
Nunink.
Yes.
Panikatu,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Porter. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't take those people off the roll. Okay. Richenberg,
Yes, by proxy.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Rossi,
Yes.
Schmidt, Shunjay, Snyder Blaine,
Yes.
Snyder Ben,
Yes.
Vance, Wagner, Wallace,
Here.
I'm sorry, was that what was your vote? Wallace?
Sorry, Maggie. Willis was a yes, and also Vance was a yes. I don't believe Wallace is here.
Okay, great. Ward,
Yes, by proxy.
Watkins,
Yes, by proxy.
Wilcox.
Yes.
Okay, and then Caucus Leader Willis, you voted yes, correct?
Yes, that was put in the chat.
Thank you. And then Windholz, I never know. Okay, anybody that I missed?
Senator Porter also was a yes in the chat.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we have 46 to 0 to 1. Bill 7 passes.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Maggie. With that, we'll now move on to the next piece of legislation for this evening, and that is Bill 8. Will the author of Bill 8 please come forward?
Bill 2021-8 FY fiscal year 2020 closing of accounts by Nathan Bothwell, Hannah Heatherman, Alan Hines. This is basically, can you hear me?
I was going to say, Alan, you don't need to read it all. You can just debate it.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to. Basically, all this is taking all the remaining balances from various campus organizations and returning them to the designated reserve accounts. So basically, if you go through there, some of the accounts go back to the reserve for contingencies, and others go to the academic competition teams account, and then the fine arts student groups reserve account. This is basically just an accounting thing to keep us following the requirements laid out in the statutes for end of fiscal year monies.
With that, are there any questions for Treasurer Hines? Seeing none, is there any debate in the negative on this bill? Any more debate in the positive, or any more debate at all? If you have any debate, please put it in the chat. Seeing none, we will now proceed into another roll call vote on this one. So Speaker Pro Tem Billman, another roll call vote.
Hey. All right, Atchison.
Yes.
Booz,
Yes.
Brown Alex, Brown Madison,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Brummett,
Yes, by proxy.
Bruna,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Carr,
Yes.
Clements,
Yes.
Colburn,
Yes.
Cox, Croslow,
Yes.
De Santiago, Diaz de Leon,
Yes.
Delavu,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Frederick,
Yes.
Gallardo,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Glasscock,
Yes.
Grills,
Yes.
Gromas,
Yes.
Hamlin,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Hurd, Hernandez, Hutchings,
Yes.
Jambunathan,
Yes.
Johnson, Kidd,
Yes.
Levi.
Senator Levi was a yes.
Thank you. Manners,
Yes.
McKee,
Yes, by proxy.
McVeigh,
Yes.
Muthukumar,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Norwood,
Yes.
Nunink,
Yes.
Panikatu,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Porter,
Yes.
Richenberg,
Yes, by proxy.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Rossi,
Yes.
Schmidt, Shunjay, Snyder Ben,
Yes by proxy.
Snyder Blaine,
Yes.
Vance,
Yes.
Wagner, Wallace, Ward,
Yes, by proxy.
Watkins,
Yes by proxy.
Willis,
Yes.
sorry, Wilcox, then Willis. And then, did I call Wilcox? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry about that. My bad. And then Weinholz. Okay, is there anybody in the chat or anybody whose name I didn't read?
Senator Hurd put yes in the chat in case you didn't get that.
I did not. Thank you very much. I have it now. Let me update this really quickly. Okay, with that, Bill 8 passes 48 to 0.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Maggie. With that, we'll now move on to the next piece of legislation for the evening, which is Resolution 14, the Executive Branch Priorities. Will the author of this piece of legislation please come forward?
I'm here.
Have any changes been made?
No changes, Mr. Speaker.
I think there was a change.
Oh, well,
After that meeting.
let me document that. We did add line, at line 1441, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to all students of Kansas State University.
Perfect. You have first right to debate.
Awesome. Yeah, so last week we introduced this resolution to give student government and the student body our priorities for the direction we'd like to take our term as the executive branch this year. So last spring, Lane and I, or Vice President Lundin and I, ran on success, sustainability, and service. And there is certainly no shortage of opportunities for improvement in those areas. So we identified the following 5 priorities to take our term in the direction to follow that vision. Affordability and accountability, student resilience and well-being, civic health and community, SGA modernization and revitalization, and sustainability and conservation. With affordability and accountability, it's pretty straightforward. There are going to be a lot of opportunities to make major and positive improvements and impacts for the student body when it comes to efficiently using student dollars and student fees. One such example is we're currently in the planning phase for the Tuition and Fee Strategies Committee that is co-chaired by both Speaker Bothwell and myself, where we're going to look at least start our oversight process in reviewing our global campus fee structure. We've had conversations this summer with administration on that area, and we think there's a lot of areas for improvement in areas related to accountability and affordability of student dollars. When it comes to strengthening student health and well-being, this is an area that hits home for both Colleen and myself. This was a very specific platform we ran on based off of some information we discovered at Florida State University. They implemented a student resilience project, and we want to take that a step further here at K-State's campus with a resilience project that provides students with tools and an online platform to be successful and to strengthen their resilience and well-being here on campus. So we've spent significant amounts of research and time this summer identifying strategies and working with Lafine. We'll continue to work with Lafine to contribute to that project. When it comes to creating an inclusive and culturally plural campus, there's no greater time for that than now. It's an election year. We have faced significant opportunities and issues in our nation at this moment. And this is an area I think we can all work at to create a healthy community that's centered in empathy and that prioritizes students as individuals. So we're going to continue to look for areas that we can build on in that area and apply resources across campus under that priority.
President Whitmer, your time has expired for debate. Is there a motion to extend the speaker's time? Chair Brown has moved to extend your time by 5 minutes, and Senator Gallardo seconded. So are there any objections to that? Seeing none, you have 5 more minutes.
Thank you. So ideally, when it comes to modernizing our student government policies and procedures, this idea came from our legislature, our federal legislature, actually. So Congress last year in the House of Representatives had a committee on modernization. It was bipartisan. It was actually co-chaired by both a Republican and Democrat. And they reviewed legislative procedures and practices and looked at making those practices more efficient, more inclusive, and modernizing technology-wise. And again, the pandemic has shed light on that in our own practices. And I think if there was enough interest, we could put together a committee and do some significant good on that end. And then lastly, part of the 2025 strategic sustainability plan for the university includes goals related to increasing interdisciplinary academic programs when it comes to sustainability and conservation education. And that's a direction we'd like to continue to build on as well. So in summary, again, our priorities are affordability and accountability, student resilience and well-being, civic health and community, SGA modernization and revitalization, and sustainability and conservation. These are not goals. These are our priorities for the direction we'd like our term to take. And I'd appreciate it if you voted yes with us today. Thanks.
Are there any questions for the speaker? Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting myself. Chair Booz, you can ask your question.
Yeah, I just wondering if you could speak more to why Senate Executive Committee decided to add a requirement to send it out to all students.
Yeah, so the debate, I think, made a lot of sense. and it's something Lane and I both ran on, which is bridging the divide or the gap between student government and students. So we discussed that significantly in Synod Exec this week on using the all student email listserv that I have access to convey this message to students. And that amendment passed and was added to the resolution. Yeah.
Thanks.
Are there any further questions for President Whitmer? Seeing none, thank you so much, President Whitmer, for your debate. Is there any, sorry, I'm having trouble with my mute buttons right now. I apologize. Is there any debate in the negative on this resolution? Is there any additional debate in the positive on this resolution? Is there any additional debate at all? Seeing none, we'll now proceed into a vote on Resolution 14. However, one difference that I'd like to explain for the body, bills all require a roll call vote when we vote on them. So that's why we voted on Bill 7 and Bill 8. But resolutions actually do not require that. We can just do those with a hand vote. So if we were all in Wildcat Chamber together, we would all raise our hands, those in favor, those against. Since we're online, like I brought up at the beginning of the meeting, I'll be asking you to use the raise hand feature during this point. Both myself and Parliamentarian Arnold will count all the yes votes, then we'll count all the no votes, and then all the abstentions. So we'll be doing that on both Resolution 14 and 15 this evening, since they're both resolutions. So with that, I'll now ask that all senators who are in favor of this passing, please raise your hand. If you are a proxy, please directly DM me right now, just so that I have that. If that's on any of these questions, feel free to send me your proxy vote directly, seeing as you can only raise your hand for one person. So I'll give it a few seconds for all hands to be raised. Once that's done, Parliamentarian Arnold and I will count. We'll count votes, and then we'll move to the votes in the negative and then abstentions. So I'll give it just a couple more seconds. Okay, with that, myself and Parliamentarian Arnold are going to start counting. So give us just a second to count through all the votes. Sorry, we're still verifying. Give us just a second. We appreciate your patience. It's been a while since we've done one of these. Okay, so I had 40 votes in the positive. We had 34 plus proxies. So I'm lowering all hands now. All of those opposed, please raise your hand right now as well. I'm going to give it a few seconds just to make sure. I've seen some hands come and go, so I just want to make sure that I'm doing it right. So I've seen a couple come and go. I'm at 1 currently for opposed. So I'm lowering all hands again, and then any abstentions. Then I count 6 abstentions. Yep, and that matches Parliamentarian Arnold. So with that, Resolution 14 will pass by a vote of 40 to 1 to 6. So with that, thank you all so much as we worked through this for the first time this semester. I appreciate your patience. So with that, we will now move on to Resolution 15. Will the author please come forward?
Yeah, hello everyone again. This resolution was kind of a passion project of mine over the summer. And so as an introduction, I kind of wanted to give you an insight into my thought process when I sat down in May to draft this. And so, you know, school was over and I was thinking back about, you know, what are the things that I want to do for the next SGA term. I was thinking about the controversies that SGA had, even though like we would have more very soon after. And you know, I was thinking about what did I want SGA to stand for and to say to students what we stood for. And so in the political arena, and the first thing I thought of was civic engagement. And so, you know, section 4 in particular is about civic engagement. And commenters have noted problems with civic engagement in America for decades. It's not like this is a unique observation. But in 2016, according to Pew Research, majorities in both political parties expressed very unfavorable views of the opposite party, according to Pew Research. And that's the first time since 1992. And there's no reason to believe that that's gone down. And so like, I sincerely believe that it's important to treat people with respect, even if they have different political beliefs. And that doesn't mean that we can't express our own, and that means we should express our own, honestly. But I still think it's really important to engage with others in that spirit that I list there, civility, decency, and mutual respect. And so I thought that, you know, that's what I would like, and I hope that's what SGA would want to stand for. Then the second thing that I thought of was voting. You know, we're coming up on an election that, you know, I'm not going to tell you that it's the most important election because everyone else is probably going to tell you that, but it's likely to be important and at many levels. And so voting is one of the ways that we can be heard, especially in the local level where elections are decided by thousands or less of votes. For instance, I included section 2 after the protests over the killing of George Floyd, because police reform is often a local issue, and you know, voting local is important, is very, very important as well. Finally, representatives at the local level or even at higher levels will act differently if they know that 20% of the population voted for their opponent versus 45%. And so even if you're not going to have someone who you want to vote for win, it's really important to vote. But it's also important to be informed when you vote. And you know, it's very easy to vote for someone offhand, having heard of them or heard of their party, or heard of the popular sentiment around them, and then not have them end up doing what they promised. And so that's why I included section 3 as well, and then had in particular Chair Colburn heavily revised that to make it better. So it's important to investigate that. And so I really wanted this to be a statement of both SGA saying, hey, we want to uphold this, and to the student body saying, hey, we feel like you should try to do this as well. And so that's why I included sending it to the student body in section 6. So as an intro, I really appreciate the Chadwick Boseman quote as our quote of the day. He also has another good line, as T'Challa from the end of Captain America Civil War. Talking to the villain of the movie, he says, "Vengeance has consumed you. It's consuming the Avengers, basically, and I'm done letting it consume me." I don't believe we're there as K-State at all, and I don't believe we're quite there as a nation yet. But I think we should take a stand against ever getting there in the first place. Thank you, and I'll take any questions you might have.
Are there any questions for Chair Booz about his debate? There's a question from Chair Brown.
Hi, Andrew. I was just wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on why you feel this is needed to be sent to the whole student body.
Yeah, I really think that this is one of the most important statements we can make in an election year. You know, this is not just a statement for student government, but also for, you know, us saying that we believe that students should do this, not just that we believe that we should do this. And so I think it's really important to be sent to the members, to the students at K-State, just because that this is a statement to the students at K-State, and it won't be very effective if it doesn't get to them.
Are there any further questions for Chair Booz about his debate? Your follow-up is granted, Chair Brown.
Do you think that this piece of legislation could come, oh, was that a leading question?
Yeah, you're starting to delve into like personal thoughts and feelings, which I would advise you to be cautious about as you navigate that area. So if you can think of a way to rephrase your question, I think we'd all appreciate it. But also, if you're not trying to like debate Chair Booz right now, and he would like to take your question, I'll allow it.
Okay, thanks. Should students be respectful to other people's political opinions if they feel like it demeans themselves or discriminates against a body of people?
Thank you for the question. That's a really important question that we have to answer in America today. And I personally think that part of being in an environment like, you know, any sort of civilization is to be exposed to some beliefs that you find demeaning to yourself. And I think it's very important to say, hey, we don't believe this. You know, we ourselves don't believe this, and we will contradict it and prove why it's wrong. But at the same time, I believe that we only really can persuade people, in a sense, by being willing to treat them respectfully.
Are there any further questions?
If that answers your question.
For Chair Booz? Seeing none, thank you for your debate, Chair Booz.
Thank you.
Sorry, everyone. My buttons are just struggling today. I don't know why. Before I offer the next floor for debate, I just want to clarify something that just came up there. Please remember when asking questions that questions are your time to like gain new information and insight. They're not your time to directly debate the person who is like on the floor at that point in time. We're not trying to demean or diminish anyone's points. Every student senator has the same ability to take the floor and make your arguments. This is not a courtroom. You are not cross-examining the person who is on the floor at this point in time. So please remember, like, no leading questions. Try to stick away from personal feelings or beliefs, specifically if you're trying to like bring up like a point or argument. Try to stay away from hypotheticals, those sorts of things. So please just keep that in mind as you're asking questions for the future. Chair Brown, I appreciate you taking the time to rephrase your question. So with that, I'll now open the floor up for any debate in the negative on this resolution. Is there any more debate in the positive? Any additional debate at all?
May I make a comment?
I'll just give you the floor for debate, Senator Levi. It'll technically count as that.
Okay. And I understand that a lot of work has already gone into the making of this resolution. I just wanted to note that in the context of Student Senate, we're very well aware of what the difference between a bill and a resolution does. But if this is going out to the entirety of our student body who may not know what that distinction is, I feel kind of concerned that it may be interpreted as something that would actually be the role of a bill, thus, creating this feeling amongst the students of, well, what is this actually like? It might be beneficial to define the distinction between bill and resolution just in the context of this for the email, not as a part of the bill, just as a part of the email that's going out to the student body, if that makes sense.
Yes, and I can actually explain that a bit, Senator Levi. One of the things that we discussed in Senate Exec on Tuesday was sending both this resolution as well as the priorities resolution for the executive branch, which just passed. So if this were to pass as well, including these together, as well as a few other general announcements from SGA and just kind of explaining what they are. So kind of sending a lot of information to students altogether. I think it is very possible for us to explain the meaning of this piece of legislation when we send it out. That's something that we can do pretty easily. But I really appreciate you taking time to bring that up.
Thank you.
Is there any further debate on this resolution? Chair Brown, sorry, is this debate in the negative or positive? Debate in the negative. Okay, you can have the floor.
Hi, everyone. So I really love the objective of this bill and think that it is something that should be discussed a lot and needs to continue to be discussed. But I have two main concerns. So my first concern is that this is going to be sent out to the whole student body. And while I love to think about the fact that they're going to actually read it and listen to the content that we're giving them, to be honest, I don't think they're going to look at it. And I think they're just going to delete it. And if we are including this in possibly a bulk email that has the executive resolution that was passed earlier and any other information for students, I think that adding more pieces of legislation to that is going to make them want to delete it even faster and decrease the chances that they are going to read it. I also worry about setting the precedent of sending resolutions and Senate information in general to all the students often. I know that there are a lot of amazing resolutions that we have passed that we haven't sent out to the student body. And so my question is, or one thought that I have is, if we send this out, are we going to start sending out everything that pertains to us wanting students to do something? And maybe that's not a bad thing and something that we should consider. But I do think that if we set this precedent, we need to consider what other resolutions that we will be sending out to the student body. My second question or thought that I have going through my head right now is I worry that this will come off to some students as saying you should be nice and play nice even whenever people might be saying very offensive and degrading things under the guise of it being their political preference. We have had a lot of controversies and problems on campus this past year, and I think that we all know we need to hit racism head on this campus and shout out that we have a problem on this campus with racism. And I think this resolution could come off as saying that no matter what other people's opinions are, you should be nice to them. And I just worry that some students will take this message the wrong way. I completely understand that that is not the intent of this resolution at all. And I think the intent and objective of it is great, but I do worry that it could come off the wrong way if sent to the student body.
Thank you for your debate, Chair Brown. It looks like Senator Levi has a question for you.
So this is just relating to your first concern that you brought up in your negative debate portion. Do you think this plan would be improved at all by like a TLDR setup? So like not in those exact terms, but just essentially sending out a summary with the link to the full text instead of the full text itself?
In my opinion, if someone puts like too long, don't read, that means I'm not gonna read it, and assume that if they put a TLDR that it's not worth my time. So I think that that would be unbeneficial. But I do think it is an option to consider if that's a worry about the body of the email itself being too dense.
Are there any further questions for our speaker? Senator Kidd, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. I guess my question just pertains to the students that actually read the emails. Do we have access to those read statistics? Like, can we see how many students open up emails that are sent to the all student body listserv, anything like that?
That is not a question that I know, and I would have to refer. Does anyone know?
I don't have that information. I'm sure we could go through the division of marketing, but even then, I'm not sure if they would have that information for us. So it's not accessible.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious. Thank you.
Wait, who are you asking? You're asking the negative? Yeah, ask the negative.
Sorry, with that, it looks like intern coordinator, sorry, Senator Kroslow is who I'm going to go to next because it looks like he has some information kind of to defer right now. So I'm actually going to jump to him on the list of things. Senator Kroslow, if you had something you wanted to share.
Yeah, just for Marcus's question, at the Grad Student Council, we don't use the internal email service. We actually pay for MailChimp to get that source of statistical information that he's asking about. So we're able to see who opens it, who reads, who clicks on links, and all that kind of data that I think Marcus is getting to. But we have to pay for it. It's not part of the IT service package that K-State has through the email. So unless SGA sends out their package on another system, we won't have access to that data without substantive changes that the grad school can't get through. Maybe we can do it SGA-wise, but grad school pays otherwise.
Thank you, Senator Kroslow. We really appreciate that information that you had to add. It looks like intern coordinator Heatherman, you had an additional question.
Hi, I'd like to defer my speaking rights to Jacob Long.
Absolutely, we welcome questions from interns.
Hello, thank you. So my question is, what is the point in passing this if it's not sent out to the entire student body?
That is a very good question.
Debating the negative, hun.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. We pass a lot of resolutions. Most of our resolutions are passed without sending them to the student body. I think even if it's not sent to the student body, it still is distributed to people who care about the SGA space, and it makes it official that this is our SGA opinion. To be honest, even if we did send all of our resolutions to students, they probably wouldn't read them. So I think that we are still able to have an impact through passing resolutions, even without sending them to the student body. And I do think it shows as a active action and public declaration of the information and values that are passed in the resolution.
With that, are there any further questions for our current speaker? Sorry, there's a lot of stuff in the chat and I'm just trying to track what's what. Caucus Leader Willis.
This is just a question on from just a kind of something we were thinking about here. Could it be possible that we send this, instead of making it sent to all students, we just submit it through the K-State Today, just so it reaches all students who would like to read and keep updated on the news, and of course it'll be still sent anyway.
I think that is a great idea.
On that point, sorry, I'm at a place where I'm trying to figure out how to legislate that at the moment. Because technically I don't know if like that format would still fulfill, like the way it's written right now is that it says like sent to all students. My assumption would be that we would have to clarify, like add a new section or something like that, because I don't think sent to all students fulfills that. Like I think sent to all students would mean directly. Kind of thinking out loud here, just to clarify the process that Caucus Leader Willis brought up. As Chair Booz brought up, we would probably need to amend it or send it back to committee. So if you are interested in like amending this resolution or referring it back to committee for them to work on in committee, that could be an option to make that change as well. Thank you for bringing that up, Chair Booz. With that, I'm really trying to keep track of my chat here. Are there any further questions for Chair Brown at this time? Seeing none, Chair Brown, we appreciate your debate. Thank you so much. I would like to remind every student senator that you have the chance to make like a motion at any time, since that just kind of entered the conversation. You would just have to put your motion in the chat. It won't be one that I'll say that I'll seek and just say so moved, since it's something that's like kind of typically out of the ordinary. Next up, since we just had debate in the negative, I'm now seeking debate in the positive. The next debate in the positive that I see is from Chair Rodriguez. So Chair Rodriguez, since you clarified, that you're the next positive, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Nathan. So going back to what President Whitmer said and that we brought up in exec meeting, I feel like right now in SGA, there's a really good distinction or disconnection between the student body and SGA. So I feel like just trying to make an effort into us sending this resolution, it's important and it takes a precedent because it's something that we haven't done before. And right now that we're online, people are not able to come to Wildcat Chamber to get informed or anything. It's just a way of reminding them that we're still doing our job, we're still here for them. And it's just like creating those relationships that we haven't had in a long time, in my opinion. And I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. Are there any questions for Natalia? Seeing none, thank you, Natalia. Next, going by what I have on the list, would be Senator Dillevue. You would have debate in the negative, so you would have the floor right now.
Thank you. I'll keep this real quick. I think that we're at the point in history where it's very difficult for us to remain non or bipartisan, and I think that the best way for us to do that right now is to stay away from talking about this election. I think it's possible to read into pretty much anything that anyone is going to write about what's going to happen in November. I think the best way for us to deal with that is to stay far away from it.
Are there any questions for Senator Dillevue?
You good, bro?
Seeing none, thank you for your, oh, Chair Rodriguez, it looks like you had a question. Sorry, you can go.
How are we not staying bipartisan, or how are we not staying neutral with this bill?
I realize that in theory, what this bill says is neutral, but I just think that any line that anyone writes about this election can be read into to mean for or against any party. I'm not really trying to read into any single line or point out any single thing. I just think that because of that, I think it's best to stay away.
Are there any further questions? Senator Glasscock.
Yeah, kind of to inquire more about this philosophy, should a philosophy like this be extended kind of by what you've laid out to our get out the vote efforts as well? Or kind of where is the line drawn for a philosophy like that?
Well, I guess because we're the legislative body for campus, I feel that we have the responsibility to remain the most bipartisan. I don't know if there's the get out the vote efforts are associated with SGA or if there are other campus groups. Other campus groups don't necessarily have as strong of a responsibility. And I think that's where I would draw the line.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, thank you, Senator Delavu. I will now seek any debate in the positive, if there is any. I also want to let everyone know that for a motion for the previous question to close debate, that is only in order after there's been 5 debates in the positive and negative, and we've currently had three opportunities for each by my count. So it looks like Chair Colburn, you have the floor next.
Hi, everyone. So I just kind of wanted to speak a little bit since GR voted to be co-authors of this resolution. We voted unanimously, all of the voting members who were there voted unanimously to put our names on this resolution. I had a hand in help editing it with Chair Booz, but generally GR really approved of what this resolution was trying to get across. I'll agree after hearing a lot of the different points of argument tonight that it's not perfect. I think most SGA resolutions are not, but I do think that the intent of this resolution is really positive. I think how I view it and what I would really appreciate for all students to read is the focus on education and encouraging all students to become educated on who is running and also encouraging all students to vote. I recognize that things have become very politicized that I don't think should be partisan and I don't think should be politicized. I think Chair Brown and I agree on a lot of those different pieces. And I understand Senator Delavu's, sorry, I should say past speakers. I remember, take this as a point of information for everyone. You should refer to past speakers as past speakers, not their names. So I would also agree with past speakers' sentiments and understand, I guess, past speakers' sentiments that anything that we say about an election is going to be politicized. But as I have learned over the years from different political but nonpartisan organizations, it's kind of impossible not to be political, but it is possible to be nonpartisan. As a governmental relations committee, we are always going to be political. As SGA, we are always going to be political, but we can be nonpartisan. And as flawed as that might be sometimes, I do think that this resolution really does have the best intentions in heart. I think get out the vote efforts always have the best intention in heart. We never ask anyone their political affiliation. We say, this is the link to go sign up to vote. I think at its heart, this is what this resolution is supporting and encouraging others to do. I think that's what most, not even most, that's what every single SGA political effort is trying to do. So I would just urge you all to support those throughout the semester and through this resolution. I also agree that students won't read emails always, but we can try and we can get as much information out to them as possible. So with that, I'd stand for any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Chair Colburn? Seeing none, thank you for your debate, Chair Colburn. With this, I'm now seeking any debate in the negative that there is. So any debate in the negative, I'm calling for at this point in time. Is there any more debate in the positive? Is there any more debate at all? Debate in the positive was moved by Chair Booz. You have the floor.
Yeah, hey everyone, I just wanted to come back up here, use my second debate to talk about the previous speakers, like discuss, what I thought was convincing, what I thought, was, what I thought could have been argued better, that sort of thing. I really appreciated the debate. This is something that we should be debating more about is, what position should we have on these topics? How should we react to these sorts of things? That's really, really important. Especially in the US right now. And so I think it's important that we talk about this. As far as previous speakers go, like I really do not believe that it doesn't, like I really believe that it makes sense to send this to the entire student body for both the reason that I said in the questions that I got on my original speech, as well as like we just passed a resolution that says that it will be sent to the entire student body. And that was added at Senate Exec, where several previous speakers were involved in that debate. And so like, if we don't believe that students are reading those emails at least a little bit, then we shouldn't have passed that resolution either, because we would have the exact same concerns for at least that part. I would argue that, even if most students don't read those emails, it's still going to be net better to send it out to all students than to not do so. And so I don't think that should be a reason why you oppose this resolution. As far as, setting a precedent on passing, like, nothing in this resolution makes it so that we have to send out everything that we want students to do to students. But I do think that this resolution is uniquely like a statement of, we believe this and we hope students will do this. And so I think it's unique in that it really should be sent out to all students. And then finally, like I completely understand, well, not finally, but next, I completely understand that it might end up coming off to some students in the way that previous speakers have stated. I mean, I think we need to go back and say, hey, we passed resolutions that we put on all of our social media, and I believe we sent at least one to other students about issues of racism and issues of, and other issues that we've had. Like, we're not in many other areas, we are not saying be nice no matter what happens. And I don't think that this resolution necessarily says that, although I think I personally would probably, prefer that a lot of people reacted more respectfully, but that's mostly not on this campus. And so, I don't think we're saying that overall. And so I think that this resolution still makes sense. Then finally, like I agree that it's hard to maintain nonpartisan, but I completely agree with previous speakers that it's impossible not to be political, but we can be nonpartisan. We can say that that every political perspective should be given this treatment. So overall, like I think if we want to refer this back to committee, I'd be okay with that. And I wouldn't like it, but I'd be okay with amending it so that it doesn't get sent to all students, and then so that it does get sent to every political organization, nonpartisan or partisan. But that is hard to do, and I do think it would still be better if we pass this and send it to all students. So, and I would urge you not to vote against this, but instead, if you want to vote against this, to instead send this back to committee so that we can work on it and make sure it's a better resolution for everyone. So thank you, and I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions for Chair Booz? Senator Levi, I see that you have a question.
Hi. A lot of the debate so far has centered on the motivations of this bill when it was being written and its direct consequences. But are there any indirect benefits that we would get from passing this as is, including the part about sending it to all students, like maybe something that correlates to other goals that SGA has for this term?
I'm not entirely sure what you're asking, Senator Levi. I guess I can take a stab at it and ask if you need a follow, if that answers your question. I mean, I think generally, like, I wanted to submit this at the first Student Senate meeting of the year so that it gets sent to all students before we completely get into our election season. So like passing it now as opposed to passing it a little later would help get it on students' minds before we dive in completely to election season and the accusations start flying outside of this campus or maybe on this campus. And so I think that is useful. And then also I think that this will get it out there more than sending it to just the political groups. So maybe someone who's very non-interested in politics opens it up and says, hey, maybe I should vote. So that would be great.
Senator
Does that
Levi,
answer your question?
Senator Levi, your follow-up is granted.
Okay. I realize I phrased that in a very roundabout way initially, but despite being the legislative body, I was just curious if my original impression of this resolution when I read it was that this was seeking to improve our accountability to some degree, and whether or not this would be a good example for future resolutions to further improve our accountability as an organization.
Okay, I mean, yeah, there is some element of accountability as far as like the second to last whereas clause, that we should lead and model these habits of voting and of being informed and of treating each other with respect. So, I mean, I do think like having more details, having the details that we have in this is important, but also it can do that as well, and so that is important, and that's the same spirit in which we passed the previous resolution 14.
Next up, I have Senator Grills. Looks like you have a question.
Yes, I do. So I know we don't very frequently use our listserv because we just don't, but do you think sending this out to all students dilutes the power of that listserv? And also, would having it sent through K-State Today instead require a piece of legislation, or could that be part of an amendment? Sorry, that's like 3 questions more.
Yeah, I'll answer them. So as far as diluting the power of that listserv, I mean, I don't believe that it would, because one, like this is the first thing that we've sent out. We would be sending out in, I think, about 6 months. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Like, this and resolution 14 would be. And so like, I don't think an email once every 6 months is too few. Is too many, excuse me. So, I think that's fine. And I think we could stand to maybe, have more communication than we have currently with the student body. As far as sending it out in K-State Today, I think that would have to be an amendment just because I'm not entirely sure if K-State Today goes to all students of K-State. Yeah, I mean, I would assume it goes to nearly all. I would prefer wording similar to like sent to, included in the K-State Today newsletter or something similar. And obviously that's not the optimal version of the bill in my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are there any additional questions for Chair Booz? Seeing none, thank you, Chair Booz, for your debate. At this point, I will now seek debate in the negative since we just had debate in the positive. If I get no debate from this point, we will proceed directly into another hand vote unless a motion is made. Just to inform everyone of where we are in the parliamentary procedure process. So is there any debate in the negative? Is there any more debate in the positive? Or any debate at all? Seeing none, unless there's a motion made, Caucus Leader Carlson moved to hold Resolution 2021-15 for a roll call vote. Thank you for that motion, Caucus Leader Carlson. This one does not require a second. It simply requires 15 senators to agree with her motion. So just to clarify, Caucus Leader Carlson's motion is just that instead of doing a raise hand vote, we'll just do a roll call vote, just like we did with the first two bills on the agenda earlier this evening. So we'll just call everyone's name to vote on it. So with that, to see if this motion passes, all who are in favor of holding Resolution 2021-15 for a roll call vote, please raise your hand. And so Parliamentarian Arnold and I can count them. If we have over 15, this will automatically move into a roll call vote, like no discussion. So, and with Senator Jambunathan raising her hand, I count 15. Oh, and I'm already getting proxies in the chat as well. So yes, we are over 15 by this point. So at this point in time, we will now proceed into a roll call vote. I'm going to lower all hands. So this vote will now be just like our votes earlier. Speaker Pro Tempore Billman will go through the roll. Again, always like to remind people you have different options: yes, no, abstain, and pass. So with that, Maggie, if you are ready, you can take it away.
I am, and just a reminder, I've had a few folks message me who had proxies this evening that they're now there. So remember that if the person you're proxying for has let you know that they're here, to not vote for them by proxy. All right, with that, Atchison.
Yes.
Booth?
Yes.
Brown Alex? Brown Madison?
Pass.
Bruce?
Abstain.
Brummett?
Pass.
Bruna?
Abstain.
Burke?
Pass.
Carlson?
Pass.
Carr?
Yes.
Clements?
Yes.
Colburn?
Yes.
Cox? Croslow?
Abstain.
De Santiago? Diaz de Leon?
Yes.
Delavu?
No.
Fox?
Yes.
Frederick?
Abstain.
Gallardo?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Glasscock?
Yes.
Grills?
No.
Grolmus?
Yes.
Hamlin?
Abstain.
Harmon?
Yes.
Hurd?
No.
Hernandez? Hutchings?
Abstain.
Jambunathan?
No.
Johnson? Kidd?
No.
Levi,
I abstain.
Manners,
Yes.
McKee,
Yes, by proxy.
McVeigh,
Yes.
Muthukumar,
Abstain.
Noel,
Yes.
Norwood,
Abstain.
Nunink,
Yes.
Panikatu,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Porter,
Yes.
Richenberg,
No by proxy.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Rossi,
Yes.
Schmidt, Shunjay, Snyder Ben,
Yes.
Snyder Blaine,
Yes.
Vaughns,
No.
Wagner, Wallace, Ward,
Abstain by proxy.
Watkins,
Yes by proxy.
Wilcox,
Yes.
Willis,
Yes.
and Weinholz.
Abstain.
Now I'm going to go back to all the passes. Brown Madison,
No.
Brummett,
Yes.
Burke,
No.
Carlson,
Abstain.
I think that was all the passes. Is there anyone in the chat who I missed?
There were no votes in the chat that I saw.
Thank you. Okay. With that, resolution, 15 passes 28 to 9 to 12.
Okay, thank you, Speaker Pro Tempore Billman. I was just writing that down in my notes. So before we continue, you all are throwing me for legislative process, and it is week 2. Wow, sorry. I've got a lot going on here, but I appreciate how engaged you all are. So with that, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda. We have one piece of legislation in introduction this week. So if I can get a so moved in the chat for us to consider Bill 9. Moved by Caucus Leader Phillips and then seconded by Caucus Leader Atchison. So with that, will the author of Bill 9 please come forward?
Hey, it's me again. This is another thing that I worked on over the summer. So this is Bill 2021-09, removal of obsolete chapters from the KSU-SGA statutes by Andrew Boos. Whereas the governing documents of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association should clearly reflect the current practices of KSU-SGA. Whereas Chapter 3 of the KSU-SGA statutes contains the student affairs and services policies, and Chapter 5 contains policies regarding registration of student organizations. Whereas Chapter 8540 of the KSU Policies and Procedures Manual was issued on August 14th, 2017, and is titled the Student Organization Policy. Whereas Chapter 3, Section 0302 was created by Bill 6710-3, which was passed in October 3rd, 1967, and was amended once by Bill 6712-2 on October 17th, 1967. Whereas Chapter 5 was created by Bill 9899-133, which was passed on April 1st, 1999, and has been amended 7 or more times since. Whereas PPM Chapter 8540 contains similar language and requirements to Chapter 3, Section 0302, and Chapter 5, but it is legally controlling where it contradicts the KSU SGA statutes due to its status as a KSU administration policy. Whereas PPM Chapter 8540.090 even states that this policy shall control in the event of any conflict with SGA bylaws or other governing documents, making it useless to continue to maintain statutes which substantially duplicate the PPM. Whereas Chapter 3, Section 0301 was created by Bill 6822-4, which was passed on February 20th, 1968. Whereas this section was created to respond to concerns about people recruiting for Vietnam War-related jobs, which are now long in the past. Whereas Chapter 61 contains the academic affairs policies. Whereas Chapter 61, Section 6101 was created by Bill 8916, which was passed by Student Senate on March 23rd, 1989, and agreed to by Faculty Senate by March 30th, 1989. Whereas Chapter 61, Sections 6102 and 6103 were created by Bill 681102 and 681106, respectively, which were both passed by Student Senate on September 24th, 1968. Whereas while laudable, the sentiments expressed in Chapter 61 are a confusing mix to proposed amendments to 1989's proposed academic grievance policy and two bills from 1968, which were intended to let faculty, staff, and others know that students would accept their responsibilities as members of the academic community, all of which are no longer necessary. Whereas while tracking down the origins of these clauses, the author discovered that annotations which described the original date the section had been passed and the original bill number had been removed from the KSU SGA statutes sometimes between 2013 and 2018. And whereas annotations such as these would make it much easier for future readers of the KSU SGA statutes to investigate the reason for and legislative history of each section. Be it enacted that Section 1, Chapters 3 and 5 of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association statutes shall be struck from the statutes, and the following chapters in Part 1 renumbered accordingly. Section 2, Chapter 61 of the KSU SGA statutes shall be struck from the statutes, and the following chapters renumbered accordingly. Section 3, KSU SGA directs the next person to officially edit the KSU SGA statutes to add annotations regarding the bill which created the section, the date the bill was passed, and any amendments to the same section back into the statutes. Section 4 of this legislation shall take effect upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president. Ooh.
Thanks for that, Chair Booz. Are there any questions for the author?
Well, I got a message from Advisor Ferris that the PPM 8540, the title has been changed to the Student Organization Registration Policy. So that should be changed on line 13.
And sorry, what's the specific change?
It's add registration between student organization and policy.
Okay, we will make sure that that change happens. Are there any other comments or corrections or questions for the author? Seeing none, thank you, Chair Booz.
Thanks, everyone.
Let me turn my video back on. With that, we have exhausted the agenda of all legislation for this evening. So we have now moved into our second open period for tonight. Are there any second open period speakers this evening? Please just indicate so in the chat. Caucus Leader Phillips, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. We've been having a fun night tonight, so I'll make it quick. So first, as the College of Business Caucus Leader, I just got some news earlier this week that our Inclusion Summit is going to be happening on October 11th on Wednesday in the morning. So for those of you, if you're not in the College of Business, you're still more than welcome to attend if you'd like. But yeah, so if you're looking to attend that, make sure to put that on your calendar. So that will be happening. And then another thing that I just kind of wanted to throw out there just to see if people are interested. There's a quote out there. I don't remember where it comes from, but it's basically that you get the most done in the first, or like the 5 minutes before a meeting starts and the 5 minutes after a meeting starts. And, you know, not being in Wildcat Chambers, we don't really get to experience that at all. And that's something that I really miss. So something that I've been thinking about that I'm just going to throw out there, and everyone let me know what you think about this. After Senate, I kind of just want to like host a little Zoom if people just want to hop on and just hang out, talk about whatever, whether it's SGA related or anything. But yeah, because I kind of miss having that after Senate interaction where we either get stuff done or we just talk about the cats or whatever. So if you're interested, let me know, and I will definitely start hosting those. And if not, that's cool. I'll go eat food or something. But yeah, go Cats.
Are there any questions for Caucus Leader Phillips about a speech? Seeing none, thank you so much for sharing, Blake. We appreciate that. I miss those times after meetings too. Next up, Speaker Pro Tempore Billman, you have the floor.
Hi guys, super quick here. I just want to say that I was really happy with all of the debate tonight. We had some new senators debate, some old senators debate. We even had an intern ask a question. I thought that was super awesome, and you guys made my little SGA heart happy. So I just want to say thank you for that, and keep up the good work as the year goes on. Also with debate, I just want to say that whenever we do debate, just, you know, I noticed that like people who I know in SGA that are friends, they were like debating against one another, but they were doing it in a way that just like reflected what they thought was doing the best for all students. So I just encourage that you to keep that at the forefront of your mind whenever you do engage in debate, and I do encourage you to do so. So thank you so very much for being so active and engaged tonight.
Are there any questions for Speaker Pro Tempore Billman about her open period speech? Seeing none, are there any further second open period speakers? Senator Levi, you have the floor.
Okay, hi. Feel like you guys are probably tired of hearing from me. But just really quickly, I am planning a mock debate that I am looking for help with. This is not only an SGA event, but I'm collaborating with the Union Program Council on this as well. And so anyone who is interested in participating and helping planning the event, if that means helping run the social media for it, or helping moderate the debates, or even acting during the event, those are all skills that are welcome and needed. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Senator Levi?
Director Koger?
I didn't have any questions. I just wanted to also speak during open period. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Seeing none, Director Koger, I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, just really quick. I have a new position within the cabinet as the student finance director. So I've really been seeking out cool opportunities to help create financial competency within the university. And one of my ideas is to hold a virtual FAFSA workshop on October 1st. If that is something that would interest you in the regard that you would know stuff about the FAFSA, certainly let me know. But also like just in spreading the word, and maybe if you guys need help with the FAFSA, really encourage you to keep an eye out for future news regarding that. Go Cats. I'll stand for question.
Are there any questions for Director Koger?
I don't have a question, but I just have a comment. I think that's great, Cameron. I'm really, really proud of you.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Are there any further questions for Director Koger? Seeing none, thank you for your report, Cameron. Are there any further second open period speakers? Chair Booth.
You're probably tired of hearing from me as well, but I just wanted to highlight what Speaker Pro Tem Billman said about believing that everyone has the best interests of K-State students at heart, or at least what they believe to be that, because I really liked that statement, and I really appreciated the debate tonight because it was that way. And that's the essence of in my mind, treating people with respect in the first place. So yeah, thanks for that.
Are there any questions for Chair Booth? Seeing none, any further second open period speakers? Seeing none, the only thing that I want to say is that I can see through the Zoom that intern coordinator Heatherman is still live in Wildcat Chamber. So if there are any interns out there still like checking in, like we appreciate you sticking through the meeting. I think that's really cool. For anyone who doesn't know, I used to be intern coordinator and love that position a whole bunch. So rock on to anyone who's still with us. With that, if there's no further open period speakers, we will move to reference of legislation. We only have one bill that's being referred tonight, and that's Bill 9, and that'll be sent to the Senate Operations Committee. With that, I will just turn it over to second roll call with Speaker Pro Tempore Billman.
All right, everybody. Last time tonight, yay. All right, Atchison.
Here.
Booth.
Still here.
Brown Alex. Brown Madison.
Here.
Bruce. Brummett. Bruna.
Here.
Burke.
Here.
Carlson.
Here.
Carr. Clements.
Here.
Colburn.
Here.
Cox. Crosslow.
Here.
De Santiago. Diaz de Leon.
Here.
Dillaboo.
Here.
Fox. Frederick.
Here.
Yardo. Here. Garrett.
Here.
Glasscock.
Here.
Grills.
Here.
Gomez.
Here.
Hamlin.
Here.
Harmon.
Here.
Hurd.
Here.
Hernandez. Hutchings. Jambunathan.
Here.
Johnson. Kidd.
Here.
Levi.
Here.
Manners.
Here.
McKee. McVeigh.
Here.
Muthukumar.
Here.
Knoll.
Here.
Norwood.
Here.
Nunning. Phillips.
Here.
Panikatu.
Here.
Porter, Richenberg, Rodriguez,
Aquí.
Rossi, Schmidt, Shunjay, Snyder Ben,
Here.
Snyder Blaine,
Here.
Vaunts,
Here.
Wagner, Wallace, Ward, Watkins, Wilcox,
Here.
Willis,
Here.
and Weinholz. Okay. Anybody in the chat?
Yes, we had Brummett, Fox, Porter, and Nunning.
Beautiful. Let me get that fixed.
While Speaker Pro Tempore Billman is doing that, since we've finished second roll call, it's now time for adjournment. So I'll seek a motion to adjourn until next week on September 10th. Senator Kidd has moved to adjourn next week, same time, same virtual place. Seconded by Chair Booz. I'm going to assume there's no objections to that. So everyone have a lovely evening. And I'll look forward to seeing you all next week.
If anybody's still on, we had 41 senators present.